Create a flat-felled armhole seam. After you've sewn your sleeve into the armhole, press the seam carefully over a pressing ham. We will create a flat-felled seam which encloses the raw edges as seen on a typical men's shirt here. The seam folds toward the neck on the inside. To make the flat-felled seam, we will trim the shirt seam allowance to just under 1/4 inch. Make sure you trim only the shirt seam allowance and don't catch anything else into your scissor while you are trimming. Very carefully trim the shirt side seam allowance, leaving the sleeve seam allowance whole. To create the flat-felled seam, we fold the sleeve edge seam allowance over to meet the stitching line, then fold it over again to encase the raw edges. We press it in place. Fold over again, press it all along the armhole seam. Here is how it looks when it's ready for sewing. What I've done is pressed it in toward the seam allowance, folded over, and pressed it down all the way around the sleeve. When you get to the sleeve cap, it's a little more difficult. You need to work that fullness in there and press it under. I don't use pins. I just press it down with my fingers. Next, we are going to top stitch the seam and place the stitching right along that fold. Now for the top stitching, you can see underneath, this is where we press the seam allowance under and we stitch it just like this. Look at the area where your needle is falling. You may want to take a look underneath after a few stitches. You want to make sure that the stitches are sitting right on the fold you made when you wrap that raw edge under. Give yourself a mental frame of reference so you know right where to lay the stitch, so it's right where you want it. Here's how it looks when it's complete, on the top side and on the underside.